All right, let's dive into something pretty wild today. How do you teach a core physics concept, I'm talking about force, to a bunch of ninth graders without using a single formula or even a definition? We're going to break down this incredible lesson plan and see exactly how it works.
So the whole thing kicks off with a puzzle, really. Is it even possible to learn science through pure experience without anyone saying a word? Well, we're about to look at a lesson that completely flips the script on how science is usually taught. And yeah, it all starts with that crazy idea. So, this method comes from the Waldorf educational philosophy. And its main idea? It's simple, but it's deep. You have to feel a concept, experience it in your own body, way before you ever try to put a name on it or explain it. It's about building understanding from the ground up, creating a connection that just memorizing stuff could never match. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. Most of us probably learn science the way you see on the left, right? You read the chapter, you memorize the formula, then you go to the lab to prove the formula was right. This lesson, it does the complete opposite. It starts with a real physical experience, which then leads to observation, and only then, finally, does it lead to a question.
Here's what's so crucial to get. On day one, the point isn't to just dump information into students' heads. No, the teacher's entire mission is to create a specific vibe in the classroom. Forget facts and figures for a minute. The real goal is to spark what the lesson plan calls a soul mood of reverent curiosity. It's all about getting the students to just wonder about the world.
So to ease the students into this new way of thinking, the teacher brings in a guide from history. But we're not talking about Leonardo the inventor, the guy who designed flying machines. Nope. We're meeting Leonardo, the master observer, the man who basically perfected the art of just seeing the world for what it is.
And his backstory is everything here. See, Leonardo didn't go to a normal school. His parents weren't around. His classroom was literally the hills and streams of Tuscany. He learned about physics by watching water flow, how clouds moved, the way birds flew. He had no choice but to learn by watching things directly.
And this one sentence, man, it just connects all the dots. It links Leonardo's whole life directly to the skill the students are about to learn. Before you can figure out the laws of nature, you first have to learn how to simply watch them, without judging, without trying to explain anything away.
So setting this mood is a very slow, very intentional thing. The teacher doesn't just start lecturing. They go up to the chalkboard and in silence start drawing Leonardo's famous Vitruvian Man. And the only words spoken are these short, poetic phrases, not to explain anything, but just to deepen that feeling of focus and wonder in the room.
Okay, now we get to the real heart of the lesson. The stage is set, the mood is right, and the students are asked to do a few simple physical experiments. But there is one very, very important rule they all have to follow.
The activities themselves are super simple. The students just move between 3 different stations. At one, they have to push a heavy desk, first by themselves and then with a friend. At another, they lift a heavy stone. And at the third, they slide a chair. They're literally feeling different kinds of effort and resistance in their own muscles, their own bodies.
And here it is, the big rule, the secret ingredient that makes this whole thing work. Every single one of these activities happens in total, absolute silence.
And the reason for the silence is actually pretty genius. It's meant to shut down our brain's natural impulse to take shortcuts, right? To immediately start guessing or labeling or trying to explain what's going on. When you take away language, you force the students to just stay in the moment, in the physical feeling. They can't blurt out words like friction or gravity. They can only feel it, the push, the weight, the drag.
All right, so after all that silent, physical work is done, the students finally get to use words again. But not in the way you'd think. This next part is all about carefully translating that raw physical experience into written observations. The teacher gives them this very, very precise instruction, and just notice the hard line it draws in the sand. They are explicitly told not to explain the science of what they just did. Their only job is to describe the sensations, the feelings, the experience itself. And to help them, they get these fantastic sentence starters. Prompts like, "It felt," or "It was harder when," or "I noticed." You see what's happening here? They're being guided to translate that raw feeling into words on a page without jumping ahead to an explanation. It's all about capturing the pure experience. And then, to wrap it all up, the lesson flips from words back to art.
The students are asked to take that same mood, that quiet, focused observation, and channel it into drawing a charcoal portrait of Leonardo. It just reinforces this idea that scientific observation is a really creative, deeply focused act, a lot like making art.
So, after 90 minutes of silence, moving things, writing, and drawing, what's the actual point? What's the big takeaway? Well, this brings us to the true and, frankly, brilliant goal of this entire lesson.
You know, any normal science class would end right here, with a definition written on the board. Force equals mass times acceleration, quiz on Friday. But this lesson, it doesn't give the students an answer.
Instead, it leaves them with something way more powerful, a question. The entire 90-minute experience, the pushing, the lifting, the silence, it was all designed to make them feel the reality of a concept so deeply that they get genuinely curious about it. The goal is for that question to just echo in their minds long after the bell rings.
And so the class ends with the teacher just asking, "What is force?" No answer is given, because after everything those students just felt in their own bodies, that simple question isn't some abstract definition anymore. It's a living, breathing mystery that they've now personally experienced. And that's how you really begin to teach physics.